I wanted to talk a little bit about my recent diagnosis with bipolar disorder and the medications that I've been taking for it and some of the negative side effects that have come with that. And I just want to talk about that, and maybe somebody who has bipolar disorder and who takes the same kind of medication, which I'll be going over, can kind of connect and be like, oh, well, I'm experiencing that too, and not feel so scared, because it's a scary situation from both the medication and the disorder itself. First off, I was diagnosed, it was about 2 months ago, and most of my 20s were just not so much depression as irritability, and then it would just change from elation, just complete joy, to just anger. I would have my downs, mostly my ups and downs would come at night. My downs would, and I stay up till about 4 or 5 a.m. and I work all sorts of weird shifts at work, so it's better to just stay up all night. Plus, I'm a night owl anyways. I enjoy it. I get to sleep in until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and don't ever let someone tell you you're lazy because you like to sleep in until 1 or 2. It's not being lazy if you're still doing your job. But anyways, the bipolar disorder was diagnosed, and they said that bipolar disorder mostly starts to come out in around 19 or 20. That's what my doctor told me. And that was the time when I noticed that I would become manic in a way around people. That I started around 20. Whenever I would approach people, I'd get in a crowd of people, I would, for weeks after, I would just be excited beyond belief. My words were so quick. I couldn't stop thinking. I would lose sleep. But the thing was, even though I had no sleep, I was fine. I was wired up. And psychologically and physiologically, that changed a lot of things about my body when I would go into these hypomanic states. My heart rate was a little higher. My thought process was just crazy fast. And that sounds almost like a good thing, to be able to think quicker and to be able to do things at a quicker pace with hardly any sleep. But it's not, because you crash. You get a crash feeling, and that's from the adrenal fatigue. Doctor never told me that, but I know that's just the case, because your body runs on adrenaline, and it's going to crash eventually because you're wound up so much. Yeah, you can't run a car on high RPMs without some sort of negative issue coming to the engine. Now let's get into the medication. I have always had an issue with SSRIs. It's like my body couldn't process them. I did Paxil, and I did okay on Paxil, but I kind of stopped because I was concerned about the changes to the libido, the changes to my energy levels, and I had really bad insomnia. I'd get maybe 3 or 4 hours a night of sleep, and it would just mess me up. But Wellbutrin was bad. Wellbutrin sent me into a full-blown manic attack. I panicked so much on that medication, and I could not stop talking. It was insane. I went out, and I know you're not supposed to drink on this medication, but I did, and I had about 3. Well, I had quite a bit. I don't know if it was 3 or 4 or 5, but I could not get drunk, and that's where danger starts to set in, because your body You can actually have alcohol poisoning and not even know it, and that's dangerous. So, but that's not what did the manic attack. I actually had the manic attack before that, and I just continued to stay on it and hope that it would pass, but my doctor said no more of that. And then Zoloft put me in the hospital. I felt like I was suffocating. My body was so high temperature wise. Like I didn't run a temperature, but it felt like I was just on fire. And he said that was just nerves were very overstimulated. He said that it was just my body was reacting to it in a bad way. It wasn't necessarily an allergic reaction, but it was an adverse reaction to it. So that was a no, and then I didn't take that one. Well, then my doctor put me on Lamictal. And Lamictal, like I said, I think I'm very sensitive to medication. As a matter of fact, I know I am. And so I'm on Lamictal, and I lay down at night to go to sleep, and I would get what everyone has experienced, a hypnic jerk. It's where you jerk awake, you go to sleep, and then your heart starts pounding. Well, this happened every 15 minutes. I would drift off and then jerk awake, and it was awful because my heart was just pounding so much. And I told my doctor about this. I stopped it because I was like, nope, it's an anti-epileptic medication too, as well as a mood stabilizer. And I took that, and I was like, is this having an opposite reaction? Is this giving me a myoclonic seizure? And she said no, but she's never heard of that symptom, or that side effect. So we stopped that one. And then I was like, okay, well, I need to do something. So I tried Paxil again. I called her up and I said, hey, let's try an SSRI. Let's try 10 to 20 milligrams of Paxil. So she started me on 10, and then we went up about a week. It was 2 weeks after I did 10 milligrams. Now I'm on 20. I'm actually still taking that. And I started back on Lamictal because with the Paxil, I actually developed restless leg syndrome. That kept me awake. As you can see from this pattern of me talking about medications, insomnia is one of the biggest side effects I have had on, excuse me, a little air trapped in there. And as you can see that, insomnia is one of the biggest side effects. It's really affecting my sleep. So I sleep great during the day now. But the thing is, I sleep too long. I actually just had a 3-hour nap because I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. And, it's really going to mess my schedule up. But, I'm getting sleep somewhere. And I also don't have anxiety, that's the thing. With the Paxil, though, let me go ahead and start back. I went too crazy. I think I'm going manic. But I actually, the Lamictal, I'm back on that, and I'm on the Paxil as well. So, when I told her that I had restless leg syndrome, she gave me Requip, ropinirole. It's for restless leg syndrome and Parkinson's disease, and that stuff works amazing. I don't have any really bad side effects from it anymore. I had frequent yawning for a while, and that was annoying because it was some deep yawns. It made my eyes water, it made my nose run because of just the consistent stimulation of the sinuses, and that was a pain in the ass, and. So I started taking that, and I decided, okay, well, maybe since this is for Parkinson's and involuntary muscle movements, if I take the Lamictal, maybe it'll block off the hypnic jerks. Well, I started taking Lamictal again, and I've not had any hypnic jerks. I feel my muscles get a little tingly, like they want to, but it doesn't jerk me awake. I mean, and well, I still do. I still do get some tics every now and then. Some powerful jerks, like some kicks, but it's not as frequent as it was. I mean, these things, they're hard kicks too, and it's like if I kicked any harder, I'd break the damn bed. Um, I know it sounds bad, but the anxiety that I had, I'll take anything over the anxiety I had. I didn't have agoraphobia, but it was awful. I could not approach people. I could not talk to people. I could, it was, and when I did start talking and I went manic, I couldn't stop. So, the anxiety has been nightmarish for me as well. So yeah, those are some of the side effects that I've had. Insomnia is the biggest one, some hypnic jerks, and that's about it. Well, one of the downfalls of Paxil is the libido drops, and but it's starting to change. That side effect starting to go away a little bit, which is good. So yeah, I made this so hopefully people could connect and be like, oh yeah, I experienced this, and hopefully someone doesn't feel alone in such an issue with the side effects and the symptoms, because they can be scary, they can be annoying, and people talk about suicide all the time, and with insomnia, your mind is, you can do some crazy things with insomnia, but hopefully nothing gets to that point for anybody out there. And make sure you keep your thoughts positive if at all possible, and talk with someone who can help that. But just if medication is affecting you in that way, maybe look for an alternative. I'm not Tom Cruise and say I don't agree with medication because, and I remember he said there was no such thing as a chemical imbalance in the body, and that's about the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because, I mean, look at people with dopamine issues. Restless leg syndrome develops from that. Parkinson's develops from low dopamine. People with serotonin issues, you get depression, you get the irritability. There is such thing as a chemical imbalance in the body, and get them balanced, because they can really mess with you. Now, hopefully this connects with people on a certain psychological level.